I've spent the last few days digging through whispers and old records, piecing together a story that's been hiding in plain sight for decades. Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old matriarch whose sudden disappearance from her Tucson home has gripped the nation, wasn't just the devoted mother and grandmother everyone thought she was. She was something else entirely. For over 30 years, Nancy wore a facade so seamless that even her closest family members, including her famous daughter, Savannah, never caught a glimpse of the truth beneath. But when a mysterious package arrived at the Guthrie family doorstep just days after her vanishing, the floodgates opened, revealing a double life that explains everything and nothing at all about why she was taken. Nancy Guthrie had always been the quiet force holding her family together. After her husband Charles died of a heart attack in 1989, leaving her a widow at 47 with 3 teenagers to raise in Tucson, Arizona, she became the epitome of resilience. Friends and neighbors remember her as the woman who never complained, who turned her modest ranch-style home in the Catalina foothills into a haven of stability amid the desert's harsh beauty. She worked part-time as a bookkeeper for local businesses, volunteered at her church, and instilled in her kids, Savannah, Annie, and Cam, a blend of faith, humor, and unyielding determination. Savannah often shared on air how her mom's grit shaped her. She faced everything head-on. No self-pity, just grace and strength. Viewers ate it up, seeing Nancy as the ultimate mom figure, the rock behind the Today Show star. But rocks have cracks, and Nancy's ran deeper than anyone imagined. The first hint came not from a dramatic confession or a family blow-up, but from a simple, unmarked envelope delivered to Savannah's New York doorstep on February 6, 2026, 5 days after Nancy vanished. Inside was a faded photograph of Nancy, much younger, standing arm in arm with a man no one recognized outside a small cafe in Santa Fe, New Mexico. On the back, in unfamiliar handwriting, she deserved more than secrets. Ask about Elena. Savannah showed it to her siblings during a frantic video call that night. Who is this guy? Who's Elena? Annie whispered, her voice trembling. Cam stared blankly, shaking his head. They had no idea, but the photo was dated 1992, 3 years after their father's death. And it was the key that unlocked Nancy's hidden world. It turns out Nancy Guthrie had been living a parallel existence since the early 1990s, one that began innocently enough but spiraled into a web of deception that lasted 3 decades. It started with a chance encounter in 1991 during a rare solo trip Nancy took to Santa Fe for a church retreat. Still grieving her husband, she met Victor Ramirez, a 45-year-old artist and gallery owner originally from Mexico City who had settled in New Mexico after fleeing political unrest in the 1980s. Victor was everything Charles hadn't been: artistic, passionate, free-spirited. He painted vivid landscapes of the Southwest, ran a small gallery showcasing local talent, and lived a life unburdened by the rigid structures Nancy knew back home. They connected over shared stories of loss. Victor's wife had died in a car accident years earlier, and what started as a weekend friendship bloomed into something more. Nancy returned to Tucson changed, but she buried it deep. She couldn't tell her kids. They were still mourning their dad. And Savannah, at 21, was just starting college at the University of Arizona. Nancy threw herself into single motherhood, but secretly, she began making weekend trips to Santa Fe every few months. She'd tell the kids she was visiting an old friend from church or attending a women's retreat. In reality, she was building a second life with Victor. They never married. Nancy couldn't bring herself to fully break from her Tucson roots, but they created a world together. Victor nicknamed her Elena after a character in a Mexican novel they both loved, symbolizing her hidden fire. Under that alias, Nancy helped Victor run his gallery, even exhibiting a few of her own amateur paintings, something she never did in Tucson, where art felt frivolous next to raising kids and paying bills. By 1995, as Savannah was launching her journalism career in local news, Nancy's double life had deepened. She opened a small bank account in Santa Fe under Elena Ramirez, funneling small amounts from her bookkeeping job to support Victor's gallery during lean times. It wasn't much, maybe $200 here, $500 there, but it gave her a stake in this alternate world. Victor, in turn, introduced her to a circle of artists, writers, and free thinkers. For the first time, Nancy danced at late-night fiestas, debated philosophy over wine, and explored parts of herself she'd suppressed since becoming a young wife and mother. Elena was adventurous, flirtatious, unafraid to laugh loud or cry openly. Everything Nancy in Tucson couldn't be, bound by duty and decorum. The secrecy weighed on her, but Nancy rationalized it. Her kids were thriving. Savannah landing her first TV gig. Annie in college. Cam finding his way. Telling them about Victor would shatter their image of her as the steadfast widow honoring their father's memory. So she compartmentalized. Weekends in Santa Fe became her escape, her oxygen. She'd drive the 8 hours each way, telling the family she was clearing her head or visiting cousins in New Mexico. Victor understood the constraints. He never pushed for more, content with their stolen time. They exchanged letters, actual handwritten ones, to avoid digital trails, and Nancy kept them hidden in a locked box under her bed in Tucson. As the years rolled on, Nancy's double life evolved. By 2000, with Savannah moving to Washington, D.C. for NBC and the other kids starting families, Nancy had more freedom. She began spending longer stretches in Santa Fe, up to a week at a time, telling everyone she was on solo retreats for her health. Victor's gallery thrived with her behind-the-scenes help. She managed the books, organized events, even curated shows under the Elena name. Locals knew her as Victor's quiet partner, the woman with the sharp eye for Southwestern art. No one connected her to the Guthrie name. Nancy was careful. Different hairstyle, casual clothes, no mentions of her Tucson life. But cracks started showing in the 2010s. Nancy's chronic pain and heart issues began, requiring medication she sometimes forgot during trips. Victor urged her to come clean with her family, but she refused. They see me as their rock. Rocks don't have secrets. Instead, she doubled down on the deception, using burner phones for calls and paying cash for everything in Santa Fe. When Savannah's career exploded with the Today Show in 2012, Nancy beamed with pride publicly, but confided in Victor her fears. She's so exposed. What if someone digs into me? Victor reassured her, but the paranoia grew. The double life took its toll. Nancy developed anxiety she masked with her faith, attending church in both places but confessing nothing. Victor wanted more, a full commitment, but Nancy couldn't leave her grandkids or the life she'd built. They argued quietly, but always reconciled. By 2020, during the pandemic, Nancy's trips halted for months. She confided in Victor over secret video calls using a hidden app on her phone, but the isolation amplified her guilt. When travel resumed, she visited less, citing health, but really fearing discovery as Savannah's fame grew.